Biblical Symbols and Parables. Decoding the Cherubim. Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel where we explore the fascinating symbols and parables of the Bible. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and powerful figures known as the Cherubim. What are they? And what do they represent? Let's find out together. Our first encounter with the Cherubim is right after a moment of profound loss and separation. In Genesis chapter 3, after Adam and Eve are expelled from the Garden of Eden, God places cherubim at the east of the garden. Their purpose, to guard the way to the tree of life, armed with a flaming sword that turned every way. Imagine that scene. It's not just a locked gate. It's a living, dynamic barrier. This first appearance establishes the cherubim as powerful guardians of God's sacred space and holiness. They represent the unbridgeable gap that sin created between humanity and God's pure presence. The way back to Eden, to that perfect communion, was now blocked by these formidable beings. They weren't there to be malicious. They were there to uphold a divine decree. This image of the cherubim as guardians is a theme that we will see repeated throughout the scriptures, symbolizing the sanctity of God's presence and the seriousness of being separated from it. They are the protectors of the divine threshold. Centuries later, the image of the cherubim reappears in a very different context, not as guardians of a lost paradise, but as central figures in Israel's worship. When God gives Moses the instructions for building the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary for the Israelites in the wilderness, the cherubim are given a place of honor. In Exodus chapter 25, God commands Moses to make the cherubim of hammered gold and place them at the two ends of the mercy seat, which was the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. The ark itself was the most sacred object in the tabernacle, containing the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments. These golden cherubim were to face each other, with their wings spread upward, overshadowing the mercy seat. Their faces were to be turned toward the mercy seat, a posture of reverence and worship. It was from between these two cherubim, from above the mercy seat, that God said he would speak to Moses. This is incredibly significant. The cherubim, once symbols of separation, now mark the very place of communion between God and humanity. They flanked the throne of the invisible God, symbolizing his royal presence among his people. The space between them is where heaven and earth meet, where atonement is made, and where God's word is delivered. They are no longer just blocking the way. They are now part of the way, framing the sacred space where mercy and justice meet. The symbolism of the cherubim as guardians of God's throne and presence is further magnified in the construction of Solomon's temple. This magnificent, permanent structure was designed to be God's dwelling place on earth. In 1 Kings chapter 6, we read about the construction of the most holy place, the inner sanctum of the temple. Inside this sacred cube, Solomon placed two enormous cherubim, each standing 15 feet tall, with a 15-foot wingspan. They were carved from olive wood and overlaid with pure gold. These giant figures stood side by side, and their outstretched wings touched each other in the center of the room and also touched the outer walls. They effectively spanned the entire width of the most holy place. Beneath their wings, the Ark of the Covenant was placed. These cherubim were not just small decorations. They were a dominant, awe-inspiring feature of the temple. Their sheer size and golden splendor would have filled anyone who saw them with a sense of wonder and reverence. They powerfully symbolized the overwhelming and glorious presence of God enthroned in his holy temple. They were a constant, visible reminder that this was not an ordinary building. It was the house of the King of Kings, guarded by his heavenly court. But perhaps the most vivid and complex description of the cherubim comes from the prophet Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a priest who was taken into exile in Babylon, and he received a series of incredible visions from God. In chapter 10 of his book, Ezekiel describes a vision of God's throne chariot, which is borne by 4 living creatures. These creatures are later identified as cherubim. Ezekiel's description is breathtaking and almost psychedelic. Each cherub had 4 faces: the face of a cherub, the face of a man, the face of a lion, and the face of an eagle. They had 4 wings, and under their wings were what looked like human hands. Their bodies were full of eyes, all over, indicating their all-seeing awareness and intelligence. They moved in perfect unison, straight forward, without turning, and alongside them were incredible wheels, wheels within wheels, also full of eyes, that could move in any direction. The entire apparatus moved with the spirit of the living creatures. This vision is a dynamic, mobile depiction of God's glory. The cherubim are not static statues here. They are the living engines of God's sovereignty. They represent God's omnipresence, his ability to be everywhere and see everything. The four faces can be interpreted as representing the whole of creation, a human, the king of wild beasts, the king of birds, and the cherub itself, representing the heavenly beings. Together, they uphold and carry the throne of God, demonstrating that his rule extends over all creation, and his glory is not confined to one place, not even the temple in Jerusalem. It's a powerful message of hope for the exiles, showing them that God is still on his throne and present with them, even in a foreign land. So, what is the lesson we can draw from these powerful and mysterious figures? The cherubim, in all their different forms, teach us about the awesome holiness and sovereign majesty of God. They are symbols of his pure presence, his royal authority, and his glorious mobility. From guarding the way to the tree of life, to flanking the mercy seat and carrying God's mobile throne, they consistently point to a God who is both transcendent, set apart in his holiness, and immanent, present with his people. They remind us that approaching God is not a casual matter. It requires reverence and respect. They also show us the progression of God's plan of redemption. What was once guarded and inaccessible in Eden becomes the very place of meeting and communion in the tabernacle. This ultimately points us to Jesus. The book of Hebrews tells us that Jesus is the great high priest who has entered the true, most holy place, not one made by human hands, but heaven itself. Through his sacrifice on the cross, he has opened a new and living way for us to enter God's presence with confidence. We no longer need to be kept at a distance by guardian cherubim. Because of Jesus, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, and the way to the Father is now open to all who believe in him. The cherubim stand as a timeless symbol of God's glory, and now, through Christ, we are invited to come boldly before that very throne of grace. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the world of the cherubim. I hope this exploration has deepened your understanding and appreciation for the rich symbolism in the Bible. If you found this video helpful and want to see more content like this, please give it a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may you continue to discover the wonder and wisdom hidden within the scriptures. Thanks for watching.